It's funny. It really was that long ago that we were all pretty impressed with an AI that could just, write a decent paragraph.
Right.
And now things are moving so fast, it's almost hard to keep up, isn't it? This whole AI thing. It feels like we're on the verge of something really big.
Yeah. It's definitely not just hype anymore, is it? I mean, what we're seeing is a real shift, a fundamental change in what AI can actually do.
Exactly. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today.
Yeah, that's right.
To really get into what this new generation of AI is all about. And you've brought a really interesting collection of articles and reports that I think paint a pretty vivid picture of what's coming.
Yeah, I tried to pull together, a range of
Yeah.
perspectives so we
Yeah.
can get a good sense of, the opportunities, but also the challenges that are coming with all of this.
So our mission here is to distill all of this information
Right.
for our listeners, give them the key insights, make it clear, and, engaging without getting too bogged down in the technical stuff.
Absolutely. And I think one of the best places to start is with this idea of AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Yeah, AGI, that's a term everyone's talking about.
It is.
But what does it actually mean?
So it really represents, a big change in what we're even aiming for with AI. I mean, today's AI, it's impressive, right? But it's what we call narrow AI.
Okay.
It's good at specific tasks, like algorithms that recommend music or translate languages.
Yeah, like very specialized.
Exactly. But AGI,
Yeah.
this is about something much bigger.
Yeah.
The ability to reason, learn, adapt across a whole range of tasks, essentially reaching human-level cognitive abilities.
Wow.
The goal is to have an AI that could, in theory, do anything intellectually that a human can.
So it's not just a specialized tool. It's more like a general purpose intellect
That's a good way to put it.
capable of, tackling just about any kind of problem.
Right. And the interesting thing is, a lot of the big players out there, they're really pushing for this. Companies
Consensus.
like, OpenAI, Google, DeepMind, Anthropic,
Yeah, you can really sense the momentum.
and the potential impact of achieving AGI. It's massive. Think about truly autonomous systems making decisions in business or revolutionizing healthcare with, totally new ways of diagnosing and treating diseases, maybe even a role in shaping governance.
It's almost hard to wrap your head around the possibilities.
Right. And one idea that really struck me from the articles was the potential for AGI to analyze these huge data sets across different scientific fields and, potentially make breakthroughs that would take humans decades to figure out.
That's an amazing thought. AI accelerating scientific discovery itself.
It is, isn't it?
So that's the long-term vision, but what about right now? What are some of the things we're seeing today that are, kind of pointing in that direction?
One development that's really interesting is multimodal AI.
Okay, multimodal AI. What's the big deal with that?
Well, it's the fact that AI is now getting really good at processing and understanding, multiple types of information at the same time.
Okay, so like we do as humans, right? We see, hear, read, and our brains just put it all together.
Exactly. And modern AI is starting to do that too, processing text images, audio, video, all together.
So can you give an example of what that makes possible?
Sure. So some of the sources talk about models like GPT-4o and Gemini AI. And what's fascinating is that they can, analyze an image, for example,
Right.
answer a spoken question about some detail in that image, and then even generate like a piece of music that kind of reflects the mood of the scene.
Wow. So it's not just processing the data separately, it's connecting the dots between different types of information.
Right. And that's what's so intriguing. It's starting to seem a bit more like a holistic form of intelligence.
Yeah, like a more human-like understanding of the world.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've talked about AI in the digital world, but what about in the physical world? Robotics is another area where AI is having a huge impact.
Yeah, absolutely. And the advancements in humanoid robots are especially interesting. You've got companies like Tesla with their Optimus robot and Figure AI, and they're developing these robots that are not only physically very capable, but they're also being trained with AI, to learn new tasks, adapt to different environments.
So it's not just about pre-programmed movements, it's about giving robots the intelligence to figure things out on their own.
Exactly. One of the things the articles talked about was using large language models to give these robots, a better understanding of human instructions. and to help them reason about the physical world around them.
That makes sense because the real world is full of unexpected things.
Right, so instead of just following a fixed set of rules, the AI acts as the control system, allowing the robots to learn and adapt.
Makes them much more versatile.
Yeah, and the potential applications are huge.
Yeah.
From dangerous or repetitive tasks in manufacturing to maybe revolutionizing delivery services with autonomous robots, even providing care for the elderly or people with disabilities. Imagine a robot that could learn to help someone with their daily routine just by observing and understanding their needs.
That's really amazing. The range of possibilities is enormous.
It is.
Now let's move on to something that I think a lot of people are fascinated by and maybe a little bit worried about, and that's the role of AI in creativity.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Are we really seeing AI enter those areas that we always thought were, you know, uniquely human?
Well, based on these sources, it seems like the answer is yes.
Hmm.
Increasingly so, AI is becoming a real force in industries like film, music, and gaming.
Really?
Yeah, there are tools like Runway AI and OpenAI Sora that can now create incredibly realistic, high-quality video content just from text prompts.
Wait, so you just describe what you want and the AI generates a video?
Pretty much. And the sources were saying that the level of photorealism and cinematic quality that these AI tools are achieving is quite amazing. In some cases, it's actually hard to tell the difference between AI-generated content and human-created content.
That's mind-blowing. I mean, it used to be that making a movie was this incredibly complex process with huge teams of people, and now an AI can just generate a video from a description.
It is pretty remarkable, and it really raises some big questions. What will this mean for human creativity? Will AI be a tool for artists to collaborate with a source of inspiration? Or will it potentially replace human creators in fields like filmmaking, music composition, visual arts writing?
It makes you wonder what creativity even means anymore.
It does, doesn't it?
It's a big question.
It is.
Okay, so let's talk about another area where AI has the potential to do a lot of good, and that's healthcare. What are we seeing there?
Well, one of the most exciting aspects is that AI has the potential to really transform healthcare across the board.
In what ways?
Well, the sources talked about AI being used for more accurate and earlier disease diagnosis, accelerating the discovery and design of new drugs, and even assisting surgeons with complex procedures.
That's incredible.
Yeah, one area that's particularly promising is using AI to analyze medical images, things like X-rays and scans, with much greater detail and speed than humans can, which could lead to catching serious conditions much earlier.
That makes a huge difference in terms of treatment.
It does. And then there's the whole idea of personalized medicine, which is something we hear a lot about in the context of AI.
Yeah, how does that work?
Well, think about AI's ability to process and analyze vast amounts of data, right? So it can analyze an individual's genetic makeup, their lifestyle factors, their medical history, and then use all of that to tailor treatments and interventions just for them.
So it's like having a doctor that knows everything about you and can create a custom plan just for your needs?
Exactly. And the sources suggest that this level of personalization, AI-driven care, could lead to much more effective treatments and maybe even help people live long, healthier lives. Imagine AI predicting someone's risk for certain diseases years in advance and recommending preventative measures tailored to their specific situation.
That would be amazing. Almost like a crystal ball for your health.
It would, wouldn't it?
Okay, now let's shift gears a bit and talk about something that's a little bit more maybe unsettling, and that's the advancements in AI for war and security. Things seem to be moving very quickly in that area.
Yeah, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because there's so much potential for good, but also for harm.
Exactly. So what are some of the key developments that we should be aware of?
Well, the sources point to significant progress in things like autonomous drones. Drones that can operate without direct human control, and also sophisticated AI-powered tools for cyber warfare. And then there are AI-driven defense systems that can analyze threats and respond, in real time.
It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
It does a bit, doesn't it? But this is the reality we're moving into, and one of the things that's highlighted in the sources is the increasing level of autonomy that's being given to these AI systems in military contexts.
It's a little bit scary, isn't it?
It is, and it raises a lot of important questions about oversight and control, who's making the decisions, and how do we ensure that these systems are used responsibly?
We definitely need to be having this conversation.
So
Now let's move on to something that I think is on a lot of people's minds, and that's the impact of AI on the job market. It's understandable that people are worried about potential job losses with all this automation.
yeah, it's a valid concern.
So what do the sources say about that?
Well, They acknowledge that there's a real possibility of significant job displacement in certain sectors due to automation driven by AI.
Okay, what kinds of jobs are we talking about?
Well, areas like customer service data processing, even some aspects of coding and writing, are expected to see more and more automation. Some projections suggest that millions of jobs could be affected in the coming years.
That's a pretty sobering thought.
It is, but it's also important to remember that AI is going to create new jobs too.
Okay, so it's not just about jobs disappearing. There's a whole other side to the story.
Exactly. The sources talk about a growing demand for things like AI engineers, cybersecurity experts to protect those AI systems, and people skilled in human AI collaboration. People who can work effectively alongside intelligent machines.
So it's more about a shift in the types of jobs that are available rather than a complete disappearance of jobs.
Right. It'll be a disruptive transition for sure. People will need to adapt and learn new skills, but it's not necessarily going to result in everyone being out of work.
So we need to focus on those uniquely human skills that are harder for AI to replicate.
Exactly. Things like complex problem solving, critical thinking, interpersonal communication. Those are areas where humans still have a huge advantage.
That's reassuring.
And it means that education and training will be more important than ever.
Absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the new generation of AI, it's pretty clear that we're on the cusp of some really dramatic changes.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
From this whole pursuit of AGI to the rise of multimodal AI, the amazing advancements in robotics, the growing role of AI in creativity in healthcare and its impact on security and the job market. The landscape is changing fast.
And it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we adapt as humans.
Right. It's a human story as much as it is a technological one.
Exactly, and I think the sources you've brought together really highlight that.
I hope so.
It's about understanding ourselves in relation to this incredible technology, and it's about making choices about the kind of future we want to build.
And the big question is, are we ready for it?
That's a great question, and I think it's one that all of our listeners need to be thinking about.
Definitely.
Because this new generation of AI, it's not just something that's happening out there, it's something that's going to affect all of us in very real ways.
Yeah, it will.
And the choices we make today are going to shape the world of tomorrow. So we need to be informed, we need to be engaged, and we need to be ready for what's coming.
I couldn't agree more.
And that's what we're hoping to achieve with this deep dive, to give our listeners the information and the insights they need to navigate this new world of AI.
I think we made a good start.
I think so too, and I hope our listeners will continue to explore these issues and be part of the conversation about how we shape the future of AI.
That's what it's all about.
Thanks for joining us today.
It was my pleasure.
And for all of you listening out there, keep those minds curious and stay tuned because the future of AI is just getting started.
It is.
And it's going to be amazing.
I can't wait to see what happens next.
Me too.